This whole will Canelo fight Triple G nonsense has got me thinking how easy it is to be an undefeated fighter in boxing. Now I know Canelo has a loss, but he has a loss to the undefeated hoax Floyd Mayweather. Floyd is just a bigger hoax than Canelo. Okay, this whole notion of being an undefeated boxer was created by promoters as a way to sell a fight and make money off the unsuspecting. This entire BS is nonsense. Dude, if you spent 20 years in any profession, boxing or whatever, and never take a loss, you're a manufactured hoax. This is not even up for discussion. How is it possible that boxing is the only sport which allows athletes to go undefeated? Did God create some superhumans that only compete in boxing? No other vocation? Okay, and first of all, this is not a Floyd Mayweather diss video. I'm just going to use some parts of his career as an example. So why is it that undefeated competitors do not exist in any other industry? It's impossible. When you compare the best to the best, the differential in talent is razor thin. Yes, someone can go on a hot streak, but not for 2 decades. The only ones that can possibly go undefeated or almost undefeated is lawyers. And that is not because they're superhumans or smarter than other people. It's because if they think there is even a small probability that they will lose, they will most likely settle out of court, plea bargain, or even drop the case so they don't have to run the risk of damaging their record. But in sports, forget about it. Find me one athlete in any sport, individual or team, where the best compete against the best and they never take a loss. It's impossible. Dude, superhumans do not exist. Yes, if you pick your opponents, compete in your venue, choose your own judges and refs, use your own anti-doping agency, and only allow your opponent a couple weeks to prepare, you probably can go undefeated. But short of that, it's impossible. Just look at football. Off the bat, the visiting team is a betting underdog. Of course, there are other variables in the calculation, but playing away is a pain in the ass. From the difference in the temperature, the altitude, to the crowd, or just trying to get a good night's sleep in some hotel room. For the most part, it sucks coming to someone else's backyard. For almost a decade, Mayweather has fought in Vegas and only had to deal with the comfort of his own home. For the last half of his career, he has had home field advantage against nearly all of his opponents. Again, going undefeated over a 2-decade career is a farce. Why is that only possible in boxing? Shit, Triple G could go 49-0 if he wanted to over the next year and a half. He could just drag guys off bar stools and into the ring, line them up, and knock them out. He could pull some scrubs into the ring every other Saturday and just lay them out. But he would not be competing against the most competitive opponents. Floyd took losses in the amateurs. Why? Because when you fight in a tournament and have to fight someone in your bracket, you have to fight him. You can't see things like, how many fans does he have? He only has 3? He's not on my level. I brought 10 fans. He needs to get his support up. I'm not going to fight him. That only works in professional boxing. That won't work in any other sport. Floyd has said numerous times that he has earned the right to pick his own opponents. If football teams could pick their own opponents, they would go undefeated also. Floyd didn't even win a gold medal in the Olympics. He won a bronze. Now, I know people will say he was robbed, which is exactly my point. If you box enough or box in other people's backyards, you're going to get robbed. It's inevitable. If you have 20 or 25 fights, at some point in your career, you're going to get screwed by a judge. Maybe not by all 3 judges, or enough to get screwed in the final decision. 2 of the judges may get it right, but if you fight long enough, you'll get robbed by at least one of the judges. One of the judges will be way off. We all know judges in boxing suck. Now, if you pick your own judges, you eliminate that otherwise inevitable problem. Then the refs, or this Kenny Bayless dude, I don't even want to talk about that. Kenny probably gets a new caddy and a brown bag of greenbacks every Christmas, courtesy of TMT. That Kenny Bayless dude is like Flash Gordon. Tell the truth, have you ever seen a ref move that fast in your life? Whenever Floyd is in trouble, he flies over there at the speed of light. He runs to Floyd, breaks it up, and gives Floyd room to run. He never takes a point for clinching, never takes a point for forearms to the face. He's in Floyd's corner. Now, if you don't have the ability to choose a ref, you don't have the luxury of him saving you when you're getting banged up. Then all of this USADA BS. If anyone knows about EPOs, it's USADA's own Travis Tygart. This dude put all of his resources into hemming up Lance Armstrong. He knows a ton about blood doping. He spent years pursuing Armstrong, but he can't catch anyone in boxing. Isn't that strange? I think this dude just wanted to be a pro cyclist and got butthurt about Armstrong's success. So he pursued the case until Lance gave up and confessed. Now Travis has found a way to make a ton of money off blood testing in boxing and the MMA. This dude does not even care about the sport of boxing. A boxer could be juiced to the gills and beat the living crap out of his opponent, and as long as he had a TUE or doctor's note, everything would be okay according to USADA. It's statistically proven that once you get into your late 30s or 40s, your body starts losing like 1% of muscle mass per year, and your testosterone starts to decline. Yet Floyd somehow is sharp as ever? And what about this IV nonsense? Except for gaining a competitive advantage, why would anyone IV rehydrate? Answer this. On any given Friday, you can go to happy hour with your bros, take your kids to practice, take your girl to dinner, Netflix and chill or whatever. Take your whole family to do something fun. Or you can sit home and IV rehydrate. Be realistic. Who IV rehydrates just because they have nothing better to do? IVs are used to either rehydrate if you are severely sick and can't hold anything down, or if you cut a ton of weight and need to get fluids in your body quickly. Or, of course, they can be used to mask banned substances. No one just hooks up to an IV because they have nothing better to do. And, of course, with USADA, you can just get a doctor's note 3 weeks after the violation, and even though you illegally rehydrated, it's okay by them. The doctor's note is sufficient. How stupid is that? How does a doctor even evaluate you 3 weeks later? What do you tell the doctor, that you were really thirsty, so he writes you a note saying you were dehydrated 3 weeks after the fact? So this superhuman propaganda does not exist. If you are consistently competing against the best, there is no way you can go undefeated. Don't you find it strange that there are all these undefeated fighters, but they never seem to face each other? Thurman, Kell Brook, or even Danny Garcia, who's fighting Robert Guerrero next. But these undefeated cats never seem to face each other? Yes, if you strategically matchmake, you can go undefeated. But you can't be undefeated if the best face the best. Someone has to lose. You don't think there was better opposition when Floyd faced Victor Ortiz, or when he faced Robert Guerrero, or most recently when he faced Andre Berto? You think Berto was the most competitive fight available? In boxing, you can offer step-aside money. Danny Garcia could pay Postal to not face him. And you know why. We all saw the Matisse fight. What other sport can you do that in? You can't offer the Broncos or the Patriots money so you don't have to face them. Now, like I said, this is not a Floyd hate video. This guy always does exactly what he says. He robs the bank. I give him props for pulling a boss move on Ronda Rousey. He offered to teach her how to fight after she said she could beat his ass. That was a smart move. He clowned her, but at the same time seemed sympathetic to her getting knocked out. It reminds me of when Oscar De La Hoya offered to train and mentor Fernando Vargas after he knocked him out when they fought. Then we all saw Floyd was taking pics with Holly Holm. Floyd is good at entertaining, but an undefeated fighter? Come on. Everyone has to give Floyd respect for making a crazy amount of money, but why would fans give him props for being undefeated? If you compete for nearly 20 years and never take a loss, it's obvious you are not facing the best competition. Show me any profession, anywhere in the world, where you can never take a loss if you compete against the best. Yes, there are hot streaks like Michael Phelps winning in the Olympics, but you can't do that for an entire career, especially a 2-decade career. Now I know people will say Rocky Marciano did it, so why can't Floyd? Rocky Marciano did it over a much shorter time span, but more importantly, and I have no proof, but most likely he was mobbed up. Potentially several of his opponents were either paid or just told to take a dive. The mob controlled boxing back then. Anyway, there is no such thing as superhumans, and if there are, I don't know why they would only compete in the sport of boxing and nothing else. This whole Ronda Rousey UFC spectacle was a perfect example of a manufactured champion. She had every major media outlet brainwashing the world into thinking she was the best fighter ever to walk the face of the earth. And on her 7th fight in the UFC, she took a loss. They tried to manufacture her career, but they just weren't as successful as Floyd has been at manufacturing his career. Holly snuck in under the radar and knocked Ronda out. We all saw the same thing happen to Adrian Broner. He was being promoted as a future of boxing, but one small mistake in the manufacturing of his career, and Maidana knocked him down and took the belt from him, gave him a loss. So in the real world, without manipulating the game, there is no way to remain undefeated. It is statistically impossible. If Triple G or Chocolatito continuously fight the best, they will eventually take a loss. Don't believe this undefeated BS. At the top, the differential in talent level is razor thin. On any given day, anything can happen. This boxing and MMA is getting out of hand with the propaganda. These promoters are salesmen and nothing else. They don't care about the sport. All they care about is selling the fight. Right now, undefeated is what sells. It is not a realistic accomplishment. If you go undefeated, you have not fought the best in the division. Look at how easy it is to get a championship belt in boxing. You can have 4 or more different champions per weight class, and they can never face each other. You and I both know that if there was only one belt per weight class, you could not go undefeated. If the only way to be a champ was to beat the champ, everyone would be dissecting the champ in a million different ways. People would study and find out every weakness he had. In today's climate, it just doesn't matter. If a fighter doesn't think he can beat one of the other champs, there is probably 3 other options that he can choose from. With scenarios like that, you don't have a sport where the best fight the best. Just look at the post-fight interviews. Max Kellerman doesn't say, "Yo, Canelo, congrats on the victory. Now you get to face Triple G." Max says things like, "Oh, good job, Canelo. Who's next? Could it be Triple G?" Think about that. It should be a statement, not a question. Max should say what is obvious and common knowledge. Triple G is next. When are you fighting him? He shouldn't ask the question of, are you going to fight Triple G? Anyway, I know Canelo's not undefeated, but he better not duck Triple G. And the whole WBC is garbage also. How can you even allow a 155 middleweight champion? Honestly, I'm glad Cotto let that belt go before the fight. I don't think it was right for boxing, but how can you respect a belt and a sanctioning body that allows for made-up weights and always allows for step-aside money? They all do it, not just the WBC. I just want to see if they strip Canelo if he doesn't fight Triple G, but they'll probably allow Canelo and Mayweather to fight for the middleweight title at 152 pounds. Anyways, guys, that's just my rant. Have a good day.